New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Welcome to Ministers Talking a weekly program where Rev BRZ and Rev Z and their guests chat about current affairs, world events, spiritual principles, and any old they want to talk about. Based on the New Thought philosophy and ancient wisdoms, Ministers Talking shares a visionary perspective of the evolving spiral called spiritual living. Join us each week as we explore the emerging paradigm of life on planet Earth and beyond.
And good morning, dear ones. Dr. Robert with you over here.
Rev Z right here.
And this is Ministers Talking Shit, which means it's Friday. It's 7 a.m. And it's a beautiful day here in Colorado. I trust it's a good, beautiful morning where you are. If you're wondering what you found yourself tuning into, well, this is our chance to say hello and take a look at the stories of the week and talk about basically anything we want to talk about. And our dear friend Linda, good morning. You're at it right away this morning, girl. Thank you. 3 calls to national legislators this week. Have you? I agree. Who else has? I've been making my phone calls every week. So I still don't think Lauren Boebert still hasn't responded to any of my phone calls, Z. Not sure if maybe I need to go to her office or something, but
no.
Do not go to her office? Is that what you're saying? I had a miracle yesterday, Z.
Uh-oh. What was that?
I walked into a car dealer. I calmly and succinctly explained the fact that there's no way in the world I'm paying for their mistake, and they need to cover this $1,200+ bill to get my vehicle running, and without ever having to get angry or yell at anybody or jump up and down, they said yes. Service.
Oh my goodness.
I sat in the corner and read my book for about 20 minutes until the service manager came back from his 2:00 lunch, and the guy came back, said, I showed the pictures to the service manager. He says he agrees with you 100%. You're completely right. We're going to pay for everything. You don't have to worry about anything. Call us next week. We'll have your car ready. It was an absolute miracle.
What a concept. What a concept.
Exactly.
Well, it reminds me of that song from Cinderella. It's possible for a plain yellow pumpkin to become a golden carriage. And 6 white mice can become 6 white horses. That's what we're dealing with right now. We're dealing with Cinderella stories all over the globe, where we have to think possibility, not impossibility, because there's so much going on that we must. I won't say have to. I'll say must respond to, at the very least, be in tune with some of the stuff that's going on, because it's scary and it's sinister, and it will be, life-changing for a lot of people. Before, and I don't know if this is a good place to start, but I would love to start here, and we can just hit it and quit it. Before we came on, we were talking about a list of banned words by Trump. There are 400 plus words, things like ideology, and I'm not even going to deal with the normal ones that you know about, DEIB and all of that, but words like ideology and inclusion and inequities and injustice, these words are being banned from government websites and proposals, and I'm thinking, what manner of disarray are we going to create in our kids if we get words that cause you to research, that cause you to be inquisitive from our vernacular? It's scary to me. I'm gonna leave it there because I'll get emotional talking about this.
I'll get more than emotional. I'll get pissed off. Folks, we put the link in the chat for you if you want to follow this. We found this because there are words on this list like woman and women and ethnicity, environmental quality, like sex. How do you outlaw the word sex? It's pronouns, diverse group, diverse community, prostitute, disparity. You can't say prostitute in the federal government, but it's even more than just you can't use these terms. What we're saying, folks, is people are not allowed to use any of these terms in official documents or reports or in any sort of creation. How do we describe what we're doing in our government? How do we describe what's happening in our world if we aren't allowed to use words? Principles. Is principles on Linda said, living our principles is a wise choice in challenging times. Yes. And I wouldn't. Privilege is on the list. I don't see the word principles, but privilege. You can't. Pregnant person. How do you not say pregnant person? Or now here's a bigger one. Opioids. How do you outlaw the word opioids from the discussion of public health, from the discussion of public safety, from the discussion of healthcare reform? How do you eliminate that word from our language when it comes? This is like 1984 shit, only what, 60 years later? 40 years later? We're only 40 years late.
Yeah, and that is part of the big outcry, if you will. At least I know from the Black community and probably the whole BIPOC community, is that the civil rights gains, if you will, from the 64 Civil Rights Bill are being eroded on the top and the bottom. So it is just being slashed, and it's frightening. And then you couple that with, we're dealing with words here. Now we that's a great segue into Harvard debacle between Trump and Harvard University, where they've already restricted $2 billion worth of research. Now they're saying they are revoking Harvard's ability to enroll international students, and that if you enroll for the coming fall, you need to transfer to another university,
right?
Or you're going to be deported.
And using that as a whipping stick, telling other universities to be careful because we'll do the same to you. And of course, folks, so Harvard did sue Donald Trump and the federal government over this and and it's going to go to court and yada, yada. But part of it to me is, I realized last night, I was thinking about it. I can't ever remember a sitting president being sued in civil courts. I know there's been, but the number of lawsuits on Donald Trump's desk at this point, the number of lawsuits with his name involved in one way or another. Hell, his name even showed up at the P. Diddy trial this week, but that's another story. The number of lawsuits that he is involved with, not just because of his actions, but all of it's mind-boggling. And this is another one. And it feels like, and I heard this said recently, he's using these lawsuits as the bully tactic, because companies and organizations realize they can't fight the legal battle, and so they settle just to get out of Trump's crosshairs, just so he'll go attack somebody else.
Yeah. And that's the the proverbial phrase, those who have eyes, let them see, and those who have ears, let them hear. I mean, just this week, all right, there have been cases on abortion and legislation. Various legal battles are happening, right? Environmental concerns, in terms of they're looking to cut funding for certain EPA contracts. There was this battle between Senator Sheldon, White House, and the EPA administrator Lee Zeldin, I think is how he pronounced his name, over stuff that they're canceling for the EPA. So they're setting up. I mean, it's just two things, right? I mean, this whole thing about genocide in South Africa. I mean, they are putting these things in place and in the public sphere to create fear, to create diversion and illusion. And underneath all of that, Trump is still selling Trump coins. He made $3.20 million on fees in the first 4 months of the year, and he just had all of these people who paid big money. There was some guy who was under SEC, a Chinese guy. He was under SEC scrutiny. He paid $75 million to get Trump coins, and he got invited into the White House to this private dinner they had the other day. People, we need to wake up. These guys are putting things in place that will take decades to unravel.
Yeah. And they're letting them do it. I saw some pundit call this the big, beautiful Biden budget bill. I'm like, what? But there's Republicans that are claiming that like up is down, left is right, black is red, white is supreme. Sorry, I didn't mean that, but that's the way it is out there. And I just had this crazy idea. We need to find a lawyer. Yeah. We need to find a lawyer that wants to do some work. I want to comb back. I want to even just start today. Let's take this list of banned words. Let's figure out how many times Donald Trump has used banned words that he's not allowed to use in his own public statements, in his own Twitter, Truth Social thing. Let's get all this evidence that he's breaking the law, his own law, by using all these banned words that he's not allowed to use, and then sue the shit out of him. See, in all my years, I never thought
I
we'd be having a conversation about the federal government banning the word women. But here we are.
Never. Yeah, well, and having been an educator at a university and working with young people for a large part of my, tenure, if you will, I'm so glad that at least it's a double-edged sword. In Oklahoma, the Supreme Court just shot down the idea of having a publicly funded Christian charter school.
Yeah, I saw that one too.
The Supreme Court said, no, can't do that, right? But at the same time, Oklahoma just passed the legislature passed a bill prohibiting the DEIB programs in public universities. So when I go to a public university, if I'm studying world history or American history or any history, that would say to me that anything about an indigenous group or a group other than Anglo-white Saxons will not be either mentioned or explored. How can you do that in good conscience to try to create a working world?
Right. I don't like saying it, but it keeps coming back. I found myself trying to figure out what might be the best long-term food storage solution. I've been looking at some of those prepper websites, like, hey, that's a good price. That's a good price for 150 meals. I don't know how good they're going to be, but when the supermarkets close down, we're going to have to eat something. And I live in Colorado. We're real good at tomatoes and zucchini, but we ain't very good at some of the other stuff out there. So, like, go buy ourselves a little mountaintop retreat with ourselves.
Yes, and yes.
Yes. We'll buy a mountaintop retreat with a nice big antenna and Radio Free USA broadcasting daily the resistance, because the conservative side of America is silently allowing the radical right to destroy democracy. That's what we're looking at. It's what we're looking at. But hey, we got a free airplane. We got a free airplane out of the deal, didn't we? I mean, that's a pretty good deal. That's now we just got to find somebody that knows how to do airplane wiring to rewire the whole thing so that it can work for what we want it. He's supposed to use it. And don't worry, I won't use it after I'm done. I'll just put it in my it's going to be the presidential library. They're going to use this thing to create Trump's president. It's going to be like, come on up the gangway. Here's the presidential. It's all right here. He didn't do a fucking thing. He tore everything down. So we didn't save anything. We didn't save any documents. We didn't save any letters. Everything's been gilded in fake gold. Come on in. Brought to you by your friends at Qatar.
I mean, and for me, I keep going back. I have an affinity to education. And I keep going back to this thing where they've destroyed or destroying the Department of Education. They're making these attempts now to get the thing in Oklahoma. They're going to try that again, right? And so all these things that are borderline, getting planes from Qatar, will never show up as something that is scrupulous, right? Because as I understand it, if you get more than a $50 meal and you work for the federal government, it is not accepted because the idea of bribery and blackmail and all these other things. What box gets open if you get a $400 million plane? That still needs to be scrutinized for surveillance stuff that they put in, make sure it's this, that, or the other. And I'm like, I heard this the other day, as we destroy the Department of Education, that a lot of the kids, and I think the numbers were like between 12 and 20, something like that, 12 and maybe 21. Don't quote me on the numbers, but that there are a large number of functional, illiterate young people because of what happened during COVID, where people were home studying for 2-3 years, and now they're functionally illiterate because they didn't attend the classes. Everything was on the phone or on the computer, and now they're in dire straits.
I had a long conversation with my 17-year-old about this today, or not today, but this past week, and she's on her way off for a summer work job and we had a conversation about this exact issue because we saw the same piece, and we looked at it, and I was like, it's really concerning, and I explained, because what's written in books is written. You can't change it. You can't change what's in a book. You can't change what's in a PDF written report once it's published, right? And that's the where we're at with this, is if we can't use terms and language that accurately reflect today in what we publish, the people of tomorrow will have an inaccurate record, because there isn't going to be a Google to go search and find out. Or if it is, it's been washed clean by the government, by this authoritarian government.
Mm-hmm.
We are living we are living under a dictator. We still have the false ideal of checks and balances, but those checks and balances are being eroded and neglected and such, that if we don't know how to read, how are we going to survive if we don't know how to read the written word? And I was very, very proud, because my kid also showed me that while they're taking their computer for the summer, they had a couple of books in their bag. They showed me they had a couple of real books, but the loss of school, the loss of time in community, the necessity to rely on digital information and video, and I'll admit I'm part of the problem. I don't exactly get my news from a newspaper anymore. I get my news from I'm more selective with my news sources, and I do read a lot, but it's a lot easier to just listen to the transcript. Nope. I think
I look at this, and I try to stay as balanced as I can under this kind of bombardment, right? But this whole thing about when you go back to right after slavery, and black people got a chance to vote, and women eventually, but it was more with the black community who could not read, and they would bring in these things to keep you from voting if you couldn't read it, right? Or you couldn't vote, or even if you voted, you didn't know what you were voting for, and they'd come up and say, sign right here, boy, put your mark right here, because most of them couldn't write their name, just put an X, right? Anybody can put an X on a line. we are moving into some territories that that are just mind-boggling, and we as the people are getting excited and chasing all these things that matter, but they matter least. The old saying, do not let the things that matter most suffer because of the things that matter least. And that's what's happening now. I mean, I haven't dug into this whole thing you brought up earlier uh, about the big beautiful bill, as the 47 uh, labels it, but I want to go and see who's getting what's getting cut. I mean, and here's the other piece of that, and I'll be quiet. It's a 1,000-page bill.
Yep.
Now, if you on TikTok or on whatever social media, not picking on TikTok, but no details of this sort is going to be on some social media.
And I highly doubt anyone that voted for it read it. When did you have a time to read 1,000 pages in the past few weeks in something that is constantly critically, and in something that constantly is being changed and amended and yada yada yada? I saw a story that Pam Bondi tried to get like the fastest private jet on the planet added to the bill so that her department can use this private. We just got a jet from Qatar. Just go borrow that, please. But like they try to slip shit in. They try to, and our dear friend David Alexander shared a post today. This is according to the original post was Bitter Southerner. It's called the One Big Bullshit Act. The bill will cut Medicaid by $625 billion. It's not a law yet because it's only just been through the House. But the bill's going to cut Medicaid by $625 billion. Going to cut SNAP. That means food in people's mouths, by $300 billion. It's going to cut student aid by $351 billion. It's going to triple the budget for ICE. It's going to green light sale for public lands, ban state level AI regulation for 10 years. So we're taking away the state's rights to regulate how AI is used in their state. Repeal various clean energy programs. Divert funds off of from school funding. It gives power to Trump to censor nonprofits, blocks access to Planned Parenthood, cutting $50 billion from the federal workforce budget. Oh, and we'll just take away the taxes on gun silencers too. Hey, which, in the coming days, it silencers might be necessary. It might be a little more necessary.
Oh my God. I mean, this sounds it sounds just ludicrous, right? And then the other thing I saw, and I'm gonna get that bill and go through it. So stay tuned. We'll be hitting it every once in a while as I try to plow through these 1,000 pages. But I know one of the things that they had in there is this whole deal about, they've been saying we're not going to touch Medicaid and da 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 da. But there's something, and I don't know if it's in this bill, so I can't say this categorically, but I know it's out there that if you're getting Medicaid, that you got to work in some kind of way, or I'm not sure of the details, so I don't want to go too deep. But I know there's a provision in there, something that says some kind of stricter work requirements for people under 65, which will begin next year in terms of their Medicaid.
Well, we're gonna raise the. I forget where I saw that. But they're talking about raising retirement age to 72, right? So again, push off, don't pay, and but let's make it easy for the rich folk to get richer. Trickle down economics. It's trickle up. We'll take every last dime you have so the rich folk don't have to pay more.
It's challenging. It's challenging.
Yeah.
Now here's one thing though. Here's one thing as the good news comes through, if you will. I am excited to see what we do. There's a big push now for trade and vocational schools again.
Right. Yep.
Right. The last week or so, I've been seeing more and more of these stories on these articles, and a cousin of mine was just here in Colorado from Florida to see her grandson graduate, and he's headed off to a college down in New Mexico to be an engineer. But I was pleasantly surprised and shocked in some ways that there was a vocational school that I attended in high school. I finished my credits early in my senior year. I was able to go to the vocational school in town and obtain a commercial cooking and baking license.
Yep.
And that school, that vocational program, which it was now, is a full-blown vocational college.
Yeah.
And it was great to see, because people went there for everything from architecture to commercial cooking and baking. And we know, not that they aren't capable, some people don't want to go to college. And now to go to college and get a $40,000 bill that you got to pay afterwards, people are making other choices. And I'm glad to see that those are becoming more and more available.
Yeah. I'm not trying to promote this, but as we enter the coming years and the coming decades, and I think that we are going to see a return to smaller community, and I think we're going to have the need for those type of people that have those vocational trainings, because none of us know how to bake a cake anymore. And the days of going down to the supermarket and buying a box and a couple of eggs and some milk to bake a cake are almost over. And we're going to need to have people who dedicate their lives to baking bread to keep a village alive, to keep a small community alive. If we continue down the path we are on, every post-apocalyptic movie in the world is predicated on a massive disaster that usually is either like, a meteor or a nuclear war. I don't think it's going to be that anymore. Our apocalypse is in our own hands, and it's in the hands of a Russian agent named Kraskov. There, I said it. That's Trump's name. That's Trump's his Russian handlers. How do you say it? What's I'm looking for the words in the article here, but Krasnov. That's it. Code name. That's what I'm looking for. Thank you, article. Codename Krasnov.
I mean, I'm just hoping, as the current 47 leader in administration continues to do these some of them unthinkable things, I'm hoping and trusting that people pay attention, because he has immunity we got to remember that the Supreme Court has given him immunity to anything he does while he's in office.
Yep.
So he can run roughshod over any and everything, whether it's criminal or not, and he's immune.
Yep. That's one of the scariest points
Really?
of all of this. And our dear friend Linda reminded us of that much earlier in the show. We didn't pull up the quote, but yes, Linda, right? We do have to keep that in mind at all times. Is if he wanted, he could send the FBI and the Department of Justice, and they could knock on our door later this afternoon and say, "You two gentlemen, we need to have a conversation. You've been saying some shit online that we don't like." And that's the world we live in.
Scary. I mean, with this country, I mean, and this is supposed to be a country of free speech where we can be able to look at things critically and bring awareness to them so that the community is aware, can do their own research, can make their own opinions. But if things are happening that they have no idea about, that will affect their lives and the lives of their loved ones, I mean, no one can be in all places at all times. That's the basic definition of community, that we work together to support the life of all. And that means, you know, somebody got to do the farming, and somebody got to go do the hunting, and somebody got to go do the building of the buildings. And that's how we work together. And if we can't, you know, provide that kind of information to make decisions in a community, then it's going to be a rough road to travel.
Yeah. And like you say, right, before we run out of time here, folks, we got to find the good in all of this. And the good is that, to me, Brother Wayne saying it, right? Free speech is under attack. Yes. But we don't have to sit idly by and watch it crumble, and watch the attack, and watch the aggression, and watch the violence. We do have to be involved. And whether that's calling national legislators throughout the week, making your phone calls every week, whether that is consistently publishing a list of banned words, or reading banned books, or promoting or hosting a drag queen story hour, or hosting some event, some experience. Get out in June to the No Kings march that's coming up, and be a part of. Don't just sit idly by. Be a part of this. There's a solution in here somewhere, and be part of that. Get involved. I can't say it enough. We can bring our spirit and pray, right? We bring our spiritual truth to this. We bring our spirituality to this as well. It's not that we're going to go out there and get violent in the streets. We got to go out there and get peaceful in the streets. We got to go out there and get loving in the streets. We got to go out there and bring a greater perspective to the places that we already are involved, work, everywhere.
Yeah. And when we do that, we need to be armed with facts and information, and be able to articulate the issues, because that helps at whatever level you can do it, at whatever point because although we know freedom of speech and education and these things are under attack, that doesn't mean I'm not. I'd rather be prepared and not have an opportunity than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. that means you got to do your homework.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, you just get out there and you look like a crazy liberal. and you know, I see clips all the time of what I consider crazy MAGA folk not knowing what they're talking about, spewing the party line to reporters and pundits and YouTube channels all over, and they're all more than happy to jump in front of a microphone and shout their crazy shit. Because, and part of it is, and it's not that they're bad people, it's not that they're mentally unstable people, it's not that they have an illness, it's that they're downright crazy. And crazy is, to me, spouting what you don't know. And they just share what's been shared, what they've been told. And I remember a really good one when the Mueller report came out. Jordan Klepper was out on the road interviewing people, and there was one guy, he goes, read the report, it's in the report. And Jordan goes, so you've read the report, what page? And the guy goes, well, I haven't read the report, somebody else read it. I just know what they tell me, and they tell me to read the report. Like, oh, okay, right. It was the perfect example of, I don't do what I say, I just tell you what to do. Like, and that's my defense. And so spend some time, put some effort in. I didn't know about this article, these banned words, until this morning. I'm going to put some time and effort into reading that a little more, knowing that, so that I know where it came from and how it did get moved forward. And is it, who else is responsible besides Trump in this regard, and find a way to start. I mean, I'm going to look forward to it. Every time I see something by him, I'll be like, nope, can't use that. I'm going to use this against my conservative folk, those conservative conversations. Because if they're saying you're not allowed to use these words, then you can't use these words. I'm not going to allow you to use them. Or I'm going to force you to use them. Sorry. Viva la resistance! Viva la resistance! What was it? I saw one. God. I saw a post. It said, "In the movie V, you cheered for the resistance. In this film, you cheered for the resistance. In this film, you cheered for the resistance. And now it's here, and you're rolling over for the oppressors." Yeah, you know, it's true. We folks, we don't believe that we can solve all the problems the world has, but
you know, if
Wayne, not appropriate.
Now, I'm just going to say,
Wayne, I'm just going to talk directly to Wayne for a minute. If you're watching on YouTube, you don't know why I'm saying this, but if you're watching on Facebook, you might. Wayne, that last comment, completely inappropriate. Please don't do that. So, folks, we don't pretend to have all the answers. But we want you to be involved in the conversation.
Yes,
I want to have
in an intelligent and educated manner
in how we move forward with solutions, or in how we move forward just as maintaining a see, I have a hard time calling it, I don't want to call it a resistance. See, I don't want to label what we have to be adamant towards the truth. We have to be
education. We have to educate the people, or help educate, or be a part of the educational arm, because I believe at the heart of hearts, if people knew better, would do better. And if you don't have the information, it makes it very difficult for you to do better. And so that's what I see this program and about, is that making sure people are aware. There's a big thing before we close over in St. Louis right now, where they did not sound the alarms when those tornadoes come through, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're sounding the alarm that the tornado is in your neighborhood, it's in your state, it's in your institution, and you need to take cover, do appropriate to protect yourself and your family and neighbors and loved ones. In the story.
Amen. Don't get hit by the debris. Yep. Folks, we do have to get out of here today. Let you get into the rest of your morning and get prepared, because we have a full day of broadcasting today. I want you to stay with us and tune in for the morning prayers, 8:15. Morning sip is at 8:30, 9:30. Spanish language prayers later today. The high vibe hour is at 11. Just One You with Reverend Barbara Jean is at 1. Divine Science Everywhere is at 2 p.m. Mountain Time, and I encourage you to watch this program. Bishop Darrell Watkins, Reverend Jeffrey Radcliffe, and Reverend Joyful Fletcher share the divine science perspective and how we can see it everywhere in our lives. Who catch that? It's a really, really good program. I encourage you. The good news is at 6, and Friday's Fireside Chat is at 6 o'clock. Sorry, 5 o'clock for the good news, 6 o'clock for the Fireside Chat. It's always a full day here on New Thought Media Network. Thanks so much for joining us. We hope to see you again real soon. But until then, we want to wish you peace and absolute richest blessings. Bye now.
And thanks for listening to this week's episode of Ministers Talking. We'll be back again next week with more commentary on current affairs, world events, and any other our ministers want to talk about. And if you found value here, please share our with your friends. Until next time, peace and blessings.